Hey guys, on here, welcome back. Last night, my brother and I went and saw Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, and my lord, was it pretty much what I was expecting, but to a whole other degree. The Monsterverse as a whole has been extremely inconsistent in what it's trying to actually do and achieve. When it first kicked off with the 2014 Godzilla, with the whole introduction of Monarch and all this other stuff, and then Kong Island, it seemed like it was legitimately trying to explore the actual outlook of what it would be like to live in a world with these creatures roaming around. Hell, even currently, having reacted to it recently on the channel, Monarch Legacy of Monsters really does lend itself to that old thesis. You know, King of the Monsters still kind of rode that line a little bit, but the second we were like, let's merge Godzilla and Kong together, it just went right down the drain and just pretty much became about the monsters punching monsters. I like all aspects of the Godzilla mythos, and sometimes, you know, you have your goofy camp, and sometimes you have the ones like Godzilla -1, which just came out and won an Academy Award. So if this was somebody's first Godzilla and then they come into this movie, it might be a little jarring. But it's always kind of been one or the other, you know? There's always been the playful, fun, bash 'em Godzillas, where it's basically just two monsters slapping each other around for a while, and then the ones that's allegorical, makes you think, and really dives into themes, humanity, all that kind of stuff. This is not that. This is just a whole other level of just you need to turn your brain off, because the second a human tries to give exposition and explain a thing, it just starts to crumble. Thankfully, there are long swaths in this film where there's like no human interaction. Like, we're just following Kong. Like, there's just sequences and scenes with no dialogue, just expressions, body language, interaction between Kong and other creatures. I don't know, you could almost kind of look at it as a weird kind of nature documentary. And for the most part, as all the crazy stuff is happening without anybody trying to explain it, you just kind of accept it. But the moment somebody tries to put it into words, you're like, wait. Huh? Hold on. Maybe you shouldn't have said anything at all. I will say, though, it's not an uncommon complaint, and it's pretty much the only consistent complaint across all of these movies, is that usually the human element is 100% the weakest, unless you compare it to something like Godzilla -1, where the human element was actually one of the best parts of the movie. However, they did a pretty decent job in my book. There's still some really janky execution of certain elements in this. The choices between who they brought back and who they didn't also is just kind of like, we really got to make some excuses for why we have the cast we have. Thankfully, though, I will say that the center of it with Rebecca Hall's character and Gia, their relationship, I really do find endearing. They were introduced in the last film, and I did like their core dynamic, because as far as like the human element, through line and story is really focused on those two, and obviously she's the last of her tribe. She feels disconnected from everything. The only person outside of her adoptive mother here that she has any kind of a connection with at all is Kong, and things are not going all that great down in the Hollow Earth, as we uncover some ancient secrets that threaten to destroy not just the Hollow Earth, but the world itself, calling upon Kong to reach out to his big lizard bro to come give him some backup, as he's kind of unlocked a hornet's nest of trouble. But the movie is a lot of fun. The movie is a lot of fun when you're not thinking about it at all. Hell, sometimes even when you are thinking about it, because like me and my brother, we have fun like picking things apart. We had so much to talk about in this. Thankfully, we were in a theater that was really getting into the movie. Like, this was like the most audible theater interaction that I've seen in a while, where the theater, the audience was engaged with what was happening on the screen. And I know that's really annoying for some people, but I think it just sometimes, for certain movies, I think it does kind of elevate the experience. When the dumb action kicked in, it just became like WWE, man. You're just like, woo! And it was pretty wild. It was a lot of fun. But like I said, it's dumb as hell. Do not go into this expecting like highbrow, intelligent things. I think we've already set that expectation, at least if you're a veteran of this universe. You're not going to be going into this with this, but like with how recent this came out compared to something like Godzilla 1, I just want to put that out there. Don't expect to use your brain thinking about this movie. But when the monsters are on screen, which is a vast majority of the film, they greatly outweigh the human element in this. It is damn fun. Like, we open with a crazy sequence with Kong, and we end with a pretty much 15, almost 20-minute long action sequence. The only kind of negative I have of this, even though he's like the top build character, this is the most supporting role that Godzilla's been. He's not co-starring in this movie. He's barely guest starring in this film for the most part. This is another extremely Kong-centric film, and that's something we've talked about before. As people, if we're going to focus on a creature that we need to connect with in any kind of human, emotional way, obviously it makes the most sense to make Kong the vehicle, the audience viewpoint, focal point for the film. And that's what they do here. It was just way more balanced in Godzilla vs. Kong between what was going on between the two of them. And this was just like every like 30 minutes, we're like, what's Godzilla doing? Oh, he's over there? All right. And that's it. You pan to him, you see him do some stuff, and you cut away and you're done until you get to the final act. But every time he does show up, it is badass. Like those few little moments, and then the entire interaction between him and Kong once they come together, and then everything after that is just complete insanity, and I love it to death. Like, it is monster movie schlock, and it is the best kind. The score, if you couldn't tell from the trailers and the general aesthetic of this movie, it definitely is leaning towards a very 80s synthwave kind of vibe, and I was definitely there for that, because also it kind of enhances the camp of the whole thing. Like, what they're kind of going for with this kind of retro arcade beat 'em up, I think it worked really, really well. Like, as many problems as this movie has, like if you're looking at it as like a film, as a part of a franchise and all this sort of stuff, I can't help but look past most of it. I admit, it's not a perfect movie. It is not a great movie, but my God, is it a fun movie. And it just takes me back to being a kid, watching these films on Sunday mornings on AMC and just blasting through tapes from Hollywood Video, just watching Godzilla beat the crap out of other monsters, and then you bring in a team up element of it and then blow that up. Like, it just, there's no way I'm not going to have fun. Some of these movies are literally just made to entertain, and I'm not going to harp on it too much. Logistically, the only hang up that I have was the usage of an element that they used as an Easter egg in King of the Monsters that would have fit here, but obviously, like, back then, I'm sure they didn't know where they were going to go with all of this, so they were like, hey, let's just throw as many references in here as we can, and they alluded to and even depicted a core element of something they explore here, but completely could not include it because that would not make any sense, because they blew it as an Easter egg in an earlier movie, and I'm annoyed as all hell about it because it's one of the elements from the original universe that I love so much. I can't talk about it because it's definitely spoiler territory, that's for sure. They made sure not to include some of this stuff in the trailer, so I'm not going to bring it up. My brother did not think it was going to go that direction, and the second it did, oh, I just flipped him off. I was like, dude, they did it. They messed it up. I called it. Anyway, once you see the movie, if you're a Godzilla fan, I'm sure you might be able to put it together. I definitely do think this is going to be a good time at the theater regardless, because just the spectacle itself lends itself so well to the big screen, and also great speakers, man. The sound design in this universe, in these films, all of these films, has always been one of the primary components that really gels all of it together, and it's no less done here. So if you got the time, I definitely recommend checking this out in the theater. But guys, have you seen it? What'd you think? Sound off the comments. Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll carry on the conversation after the video. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe if you're not already, and before we go, I want to shout out our channel legends. Manny Sherritt, Ryan Karen, York Scott, Melita, Robert Anguiano, Jeffrey Hale, Jake Cottrell, Eric Official, Casey Wood, Russell Crockett, and Justice Smith. Thank you guys so much for continued support. That's it for this video, guys. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everybody.